Alright everybody, as you guys know who I am, so basically, as you can see, this is basically a video and a review, retrospect review of the Nintendo 64, one of the most famous consoles in the late 90s, still popular today, about 3 decades later. Well, almost 3 decades later. What I mean by that, this is a 64-bit console. Well, obviously it's cartridge based, we'll get to that in a minute. This came out in the United States, at least, September of 1996, and of course it was discontinued, I will say, either 2001 or 2002. I can't really remember. So yeah, this was made, so got a very great lifespan. By the time this was discontinued, the GameCube and the Xbox were coming up, but we'll talk about those two video game systems in their own respective retrospective videos. Those consoles gets its own video, obviously. So anyway, same thing as my PlayStation video. The strengths, the weakness, crap. Basically, what I'm basically saying is, you'll get the same stuff as saying my PlayStation video. The strengths, the weakness, third-party accessories versus first-party. Yeah. You guys know what I'm talking about. Anyway. Let's talk about one of the negatives about the N64. Obviously, this is a cartridge base here. I'll give you this is the only one I got. Kobe Bryant in NBA courtside. This came out in 1998. Yes, 1998. Just put it in there, and by the way, just put it in there because this. By the way, obviously this is a cartridge-based system. Just lets the breaks. They're like a DVD drive, like disc-based drives, like the Xbox 360, PS4, even though that's pretty not the same, but you get what I'm saying. Disc drive problems, you don't have to worry about the mechanism breaking. If for some reason if the N64 break, you can just find these on like pretty cheap. When I got this one, by the way, ironically, I bought this for $64. That's pretty ironic. But anyway, let's get back to the negatives. Since obviously this is not a display system, because the cost developing games on the cartridge, say disc-based system like PlayStation and the Saturn, this is more expensive. And of course, the graphical images, graphical power, sound quality is not as good as on the PlayStation and the Saturn. But it does make up for this. Yeah, the graphics, even on the, I'll say this in a PS1, the 3D on the graphics on the N64 and the Saturn kind of look weird, but even back then it is outdated. Of course, I'll show you the controller. Yeah, I will say this right now, I'm not a big fan of this controller. It's not the worst controller I've ever seen. No, I played worse than this. I'll say this about the controller. By the way, 4-player. We can play GoldenEye, Mario Kart 64, the Mario Party games, Smash Brothers, Construction Derby. I think they had at least 2 players, so that's something. You can play 4-player blocks without needing no multi-tab. But back to the controller itself. Obviously, this is the one. Well, it's innovative because this is one of the first controllers that have analog control. I will say this, but caution: if you buy the controller on the N64, please make sure this analog stick has some grip, because these are easy to get wear down over time. Just remember that. Or you can buy a third-party controller, probably like this, even though they're probably not gonna last long, but hey, they're probably more comfortable than this. And also, even though this is a cartridge-based system, use these memory cards. Now, you really don't need a memory card for this, because the only time you need them, games like Mario Kart 64, and some games you want to keep track of your high score, especially in racing games like Mario Kart 64. If you want to save your I'm not sure. I haven't played Mario Kart 64 in a long time, so I can't say it doesn't have. You can save your ghost data like double dashing in the future Mario Kart games. Anyway, the memory card goes right here. Boom. And it fits on here, so it won't get in the way. It's right, and I'm glad the N64 could see the wire does not get in the way like the Dreamcast controller, which is at the bottom of why Sega did that, but that's none of my business. So yeah, basically button, this is the Z button. Yeah, it's awkward to bend, but hey, if you're used to this, you should be fine. Unless you buy a third-party controller, like I said, it's no problems. Now, going back to the whole cartridge versus disc, because obviously, like I said before, the cartridge can hold less data in the displays. Because of that, one of the problems with the N64 is because of the, like I said, I'll say it again, because you use cartridges instead of disc. There's less third-party developers do not want to work on the N64, or they just want to move on the PlayStation and the Saturn. So that's probably the big reason the N64 didn't have a lot of third-party support. You know, the first-party support is magical. When it first came out, Mario. By the way, I should have mentioned this in my PlayStation review. Be right back. See, in 1996, when this came out, 3D games, Crash Bandicoot came out before Super Mario 64, at least in the United States. So yeah, this came out before Super Mario 64. I don't know what the exact, I think this came out in September that year. I don't know when Super Mario 64 came out. And it's at least in the United States. But anyway, yeah, the controller, depending on who you are, you're probably not a big fitness controller. Where, like the thumbstick, like I said, the control stick can get wear all the time. That's the main problem with it. But other than that, it's pretty fine. Also, come over here. Like I said, the build quality and the reliability is cool. It's built like a tank. And the reliability, like I said, almost perfect. Like I say, if for some reason this breaks, you can usually find these around cheaper. There's a lot of them out there. By the way, this is where your power supply cord is. Whoa, here it is. Yeah, that's weird. If depending on who you're talking to, this is an external power supply. You don't need like big brick like the brick like the 360, the early Xbox One, the first one, and of course the GameCube has that too. I think I put it in the wrong way. See, fits right there. And the AV cables, where they at? Of course, these are not Nintendo brand. This is a generic brand. These work on the GameCube, of course, the 64 and the Super Nintendo. So let's get that out the way. And of course, before I go, of course, the N64 is still, the legacy of the N64 is still going on because the Wii shopping channel, once a day, you can buy N64 games on the Wii shopping channel on the Wii. Same as the Wii U. 3D, not really the 3DS. I haven't had a 3DS long enough for that, so I can experience that. What else? The Switch online, you can buy expansion pack. You play all the Nintendo games, Game Boy, Super Nintendo. What else? N64, GameCube. We'll get that. I'm pretty sure we'll get GameCube, Wii, and DS soon. Anyway, let's not worry about that. So anyway, like I said, I love the N64. Oh, by the way, I should probably mention this before we talk about how I feel about it. By the way, first of all, that's the expansion pack. You need this for games like Perfect Dark, Donkey Kong 64, and one of the Zelda games. I can't remember which one it was. Just remember, or you get a jumper pack because your system will not turn on without one. So just make sure when you're at a retro game store, just take this apart and see if it's in there. Because these, I don't know how much the jumper pack costs. I think the expansion pack is something like 30 to 40. The Nintendo brand obviously around 30 to 40 bucks. That's how much they hold in value. Anyway, let's get back. By the way, if you want to know how to move it, well, you can use a fork. Here, use my pocket knife. I don't want to mess up, scoot nothing over. See, just do this. If I can do this right, I think I'm doing it wrong. Here, show you if I'm doing this right. Get back here. And I think you're better off using a fork. Hold up here. right back. Alright, here's the fork. Maybe this is the best way to do it. Boom. This is what the expansion pack looks like, but it's not in 64. This Nintendo brand, just in case you think I'm lying. Of course, you can't see it. It just says Nintendo. See? Just put it back in. Boom. So yeah, games like, I'll say this game, games like Donkey Kong 64, Perfect Dark, and one of these Zelda games. Can't remember which one it was. But anyway, like I said, the N64 was innovative. They get first analog controller to use standard S-video for older TV. Obviously, regular composite video. And of course, you can buy HDMI adapters. I'm pretty sure they work for the GameCube and any Super Nintendo. So I think that'd be cool if you want to play the games in retro HD, even though this thing does not have component cables. But that's not here or there. So anyway, guys, yeah, sorry if it's the only N64 game I got. But hey, I will make an update video. You know what I mean by that is, couple of years, I might make an N64 collection video. I probably have more than one N64 game by the time I make that video. So hopefully, we will see more of that. So anyway, guys, gotta go. See you guys later.